The wind howled like a beast across the barren landscape of Sirius 9, a desolate planet of jagged mountains and endless plains. The sky burned a faint green, the sun a distant but behind eternal clouds. Nothing lived here for long. Not plants, not animals, and certainly not hope. It was here, amidst the swirling storms and merciless cold, that Kael, an alien woman of the Aelori, stumbled through the wild. Her once glowing silver skin was now dulled and cracked, her shimmering violet eyes heavy with exhaustion. Her people, beings of grace and light, were explorers, but Sirius 9 had proven a death trap. Her ship had crashed weeks ago, and the search party she had hoped for never came. Days turned to nights, the nights grew colder, and Kael's energy had dwindled to nothing. Now, she sat slumped against a rock, the storm clawing at her fragile body. Her voice, when she spoke, was little more than a whisper to the wind. No more. She was ready to let go. And then she heard it. A voice. "Hey, over here!" At first, Kael thought the wind was playing tricks on her. But then, through the haze of dust and snow, a figure appeared. A human, wrapped in a tattered coat and scarf, his face obscured by goggles and a breathing mask. "Are you alive?" he shouted, his voice muffled by the storm. He knelt beside her, shaking her gently. "Hey, don't give up now, okay?" Kael blinked weakly, unable to comprehend what was happening. She tried to speak, but her voice failed her. The man, Ethan Cross, looked around, cursing under his breath. "Of all the places, you're lucky I found you." Kael wasn't sure what lucky meant. All she knew was that the human lifted her into his arms, his strength surprising despite his smaller frame, and started walking into the storm. Ethan's shelter was a ramshackle hut wedged between two cliffs. Inside, it was cramped and crude but mercifully warm, thanks to a heater humming in the corner. Ethan laid Kael on a bed made of blankets and patched fabric. She shivered as warmth seeped into her body, her dulled skin flickering faintly, as though her light were trying to return. "Drink this," Ethan said, holding a metal cup to her lips. Slowly, the liquid, water, though it tasted strange, burned her throat but brought relief. Kael's violet eyes flickered open, and she stared at him. "You human?" "Yep," Ethan replied, pulling off his goggles and mask to reveal a rugged, weathered face. His brown eyes were steady, though lined with weariness. "And you're an alien. No offense, but you look worse than I do." Kael tried to sit up, her weakened body protesting. "Leave me. It is pointless." Ethan snorted. "Yeah, that's not happening. I didn't drag you through a storm just to watch you give up." "Who are you anyway?" "Kael," she murmured. "Of the Aelori." "Well, Kael of the Aelori," Ethan said, leaning back. "You're not dying on my watch." Over the next few days, Ethan nursed her back to life. Kael learned that he was part of a human expedition that had crashed on Sirius 9 a year ago. The others were gone now, some killed by the storms, others having given up and wandered off. Ethan was the last survivor, living in stubborn defiance of the planet itself. "Why do you fight to live here?" Kael asked one evening, as Ethan cooked something foul-smelling over a heater flame. Her silver skin had regained some of its glow, and her strength was returning, though slowly. Ethan shrugged. "Because giving up's easy. Fighting to survive? That's harder. Worth it, though." Kael frowned. "My people do not survive like this. We are creatures of light. Without our energy sources, we fade." Ethan looked at her, his expression thoughtful. "You were fading when I found you. What made you come here? What happened?" Kael hesitated, but something about the human's unwavering gaze compelled her to answer. "My ship was scouting this region when it malfunctioned. I crashed and sent a distress signal, but no one came." Her voice trembled. My people, they must think I am already gone. Ethan was silent for a moment. Then he said softly, they don't know you're alive. But you are, and we'll fix that. Kael stared at him, incredulous. You believe there is hope? I know there's hope, Ethan replied. Because we're not dead yet. Ethan began repairing Kael's distress beacon, digging through the wreckage of her ship and scavenging what he could. Kael watched him work tirelessly, his hands cut and bruised, his face smudged with dirt. You fight for me, she said one day. Why? Ethan paused, looking up from the circuits he was fixing. Because you didn't deserve to die out there. Nobody does. But you owe me nothing. Doesn't matter, Ethan said simply. We help each other. That's how we stay alive. Kael felt something stir within her, a warmth that wasn't from the heater or her energy returning. It was something she hadn't felt in a long time, connection. The storm was raging again when the distress beacon finally came online. Ethan stood back, wiping sweat from his brow as the device pulsed faintly with light. There, that should do it. Kael placed a hand on the beacon, her eyes glowing with hope. They will hear me. They will come. Ethan grinned, though it was faint. Good. Then you'll get out of here. And you? Ethan looked away. I'll figure something out. Kael rose to her feet, her strength fully restored. She looked at him with a mix of gratitude and sorrow. You saved me, Ethan Cross. You cannot stay here to die. He smiled faintly. Who says I'm planning on dying? Before Kael could respond, a distant sound broke through the storm, a hum, rising and falling, growing louder. She gasped. They're here! The Aloy ships descended like shimmering stars, their light piercing the gloom. Kael's people emerged, tall and glowing beings of grace, their energy radiating warmth and life. They looked at Ethan with curiosity and wariness, but Kael stood beside him. This human saved me, she said firmly. I owe him my life. Ethan shifted awkwardly. It wasn't that big a deal. To me, it was everything, Kael said softly. Her people offered Ethan passage off Cirrus 9, a chance to leave behind the cold, empty wilds forever. As he boarded the ship, Kael looked at him with her glowing violet eyes, her voice steady. You gave me hope when I had none, she said. I will not forget you. Ethan smiled. We help each other, right? That's how we survive. As the ship lifted off, Ethan stared out at the wilds of Cirrus 9, now far below. The planet that had almost claimed his life faded into a distant memory. Beside him, Kael sat, her silver skin shining brightly once more. You fought for me, she said again, quieter this time. And you reminded me why I fight, Ethan replied. Together, they watched the stars stretch before them, a reminder that even in the darkest places, there is always light. Sometimes, that light comes from someone willing to stand beside you, even when the world has given up. And sometimes, that light saves you.